Identify myself and everything.
Yeah.
My name is Reverend Daisy Green. I am a graduate of George Washington High School in Washington Heights. I graduated in June of 1950. In September of 1950, I decided, yeah, you could load that down. We look at the seriousness of the crime. I went to the LaSalle Stenotype Institute to take the court reporting machine, stenotype. And I was there from September of 1950 up until approximately July of 1951. I did not graduate, and the reason I did not graduate is because at that time, World War II was over. No, at that time, I'm sorry, Red China had taken over the Chinese mainland. And so we had a lot of Chinese seamen jumping their ships in American ports. And there was a whole slew of them that they put on Ellis Island because they did not want to go back to China. And so the regular stenographers on Ellis Island had like 300 and 400 cases on their books that they had not been able to transcribe because people were just coming in droves. So they sent to the school to see whether or not they had any students that were able to take immigration hearings. Out of the entire school, they sent 2 pupils, myself and one other girl, and at that time I was taking 170 words per minute on my stenotype machine. That was my first job. I was sent over to Ellis Island. My supervisor at that time was a woman by the name of Eva Shurick. And I believe that her assistant was a man by the name of Lou Totaro. And I worked there for approximately 5 years. And at that time, I left. Ellis Island had a detention center that was full of people, their own cafeteria, nice grounds, security guards all over the place. I used to go to work on a ferry boat every morning and come home on a ferry boat every night. And once we crashed into the pier, and so for about 2 weeks, we went over on Coast Guard cutters for the 2-week period. They would pick us up in the evening and be waiting down there in the morning when we went over to Ellis Island. That was it.
Okay. Thank you, Auntie.
When I took the hearings, the alien was there, his lawyer, any witnesses that would come to testify about him, the immigration officer, our lawyer, we had representation, and myself. My job was to take every single word that proceeded out of any of the aliens' mouths, and there were interpreters to interpret when they did not speak English. That's it.
What was the most exciting case that you've had or heard so far when
The
you were
most
at
exciting cases that I heard were the Jewish people. This was after World War II, who had been under Adolf Hitler in concentration camps. And the one that I remember most was a young, when I say young, she had to be in her mid-30s, Jewish woman who was in Auschwitz. I can't pronounce it quite right. She was in that camp, concentration camp. She had a baby, and she said that every day they would pick a certain number of people. And they had 2 lines, and when you got on a line, when they told you to get on a line, you never knew whether that line was going to the showers or whether it was going to the killing place. And she said finally they managed to recognize where people were going. She had a baby in arms, and she was on the line that was going to be killed. Everybody on that line was going to, it's like a gas chamber. When they walked in, they sent them in, and when they pulled the cord or whatever it was, gas came and they were all killed. What she did, this was the saddest case I ever heard. A woman walking on the shower line said to her, give me, no, it was the opposite. She was on the shower line. The woman on the other side was going to the killing line. And she told her, don't take your baby. Give me your baby. And she gave the woman her baby to be killed. And that's how she got out, because she was on the wrong line. But she managed to get over into the right line that was going to take the showers, and gave the woman her baby, and the baby and the woman were killed. They went to the gas chambers. That's what they used to call them. That was the saddest case I heard. But the cases were really, you wouldn't believe some of the things that you heard. That's the way it was then.
What certain things were said that you wouldn't believe?
Well, how they were treated, how they were killed, how they would not feed them, how the German soldiers would not feed them, how they came into their houses at night and routed them out, took everything that they owned and just forced them into the concentration camps. And it was very sad to hear what was happening. But that's the way it was then. Mm-hmm.
Were there any other cases that you felt were like very interesting?
You know, I really can't remember. The Chinese, of course, were afraid to go back to Red China because they did not want to be under the domination of Red China. So that's why the seamen were all jumping ships in American waters. But that's about the size of it, Ken. Let him hear what it.
It was my teacher's a she.
Oh, let her hear. No, let her hear what I said. Very, very interesting, though.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Thank you, Aunt Daisy.
Okay. Let me know what she says.
All right.